You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Floors Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to another episode of Wayback Wednesday. I'm your host, Randy Adcox. Before we even get into the pictures tonight and the discussion and everything else, I want to first of all express my sincere apologies for what can only be described as a train wreck of last week's show. I know a lot of you were disappointed. Believe me, so was I. So was everyone at the station. I'm sure I can speak on everyone's behalf here. Not sure what was going on. I understand there have been some changes made. I think they have found a problem, and hopefully the problem that we had last week is nothing but a memory tonight. That being said, I would still love to hear from you if you're trying to watch and having any problems at all, whether it be audio or video, screen goes black, or the audio gets garbled, or anything that's other than what we expect to have, which is good quality programming. Let us know. You can call the station, 407-1111 is our number here. You can email me at randy@csorm.com. And of course, as always, you can text me 252-883-1123. Welcome, as I said, to the show. We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. Going to share some pictures with you as usual. And you know, we've got kind of a general, loosely themed show tonight around manufacturing. You'll see what I mean shortly. You know, over the years, Rocky Mount has been very fortunate to have a long and storied history of manufacturing, from Rocky Mount Mills being the second cotton mill in the state in the early 1800s, up through the railroad, where there wasn't as much manufacturing there as it was maintenance and repair, but still. And then in later years, Pfizer, Hospier, Abbott, whatever you want to refer to them as, Rocky Mount has had some manufacturing companies to come and go, and unfortunately some have not lasted. But anyway, I got to think about it, and I thought, you know, it'd be neat to kind of take a look at some of the manufacturing that's been going on, not only in Rocky Mount, but in this part of the state, Nash, Edgecombe counties, and so forth. So we're going to delve into that a little bit deeper. But sprinkled amongst the pictures and the discussions about manufacturing, I did run across a few pictures that just, for one reason or another, I just wanted to share with you. Some of them were pictures that we have talked about before, buildings we've seen before, and there's stories to go along with all of these, of course. Some of these you'll recognize, some you probably will not. But while I was getting ready for tonight's show, and I usually start a couple days before the show, getting prepared for the Wednesday night show, but I was browsing some pictures on the internet, and particularly at the newspapers.com website. For those that may not watch every week, I tend to find a lot of good content between Charlie Killebrew's picture collection, the Wilson Library at the UNC Chapel Hill, and then, of course, the Rocky Mount Telegram, and also the News and Observer. One of the best things that's happened as far as providing content for the show was several months ago when the TV station actually got a subscription to the newspapers.com website. You've heard me mention that before. There's just a wealth of information there, great articles, lots of pictures, and it covers not only this area but the entire United States. There's thousands upon thousands of newspapers going back to the 1800s. So as I was browsing around looking at pictures and articles and things in the newspapers.com website, I stumbled across a couple pictures that I wanted to share with you tonight. The first one, Lee, go ahead and put this first one up. This is from 1944. In fact, both of these pictures are from 1944. They were in the Rocky Mount Telegram in 1944, August of 44. This was the Cobb and Foxhall Tobacco Warehouse. This was the number one. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the one that was over on the corner of Thomas Street and Washington Street. It's no longer there, of course. I think it's number one because the next picture, we'll get to that in just a minute, but the next picture is identified as Cobb and Foxhall Warehouse number 2. So with that being the case, I think this one is number 1. It's not a great picture. As I said, it's from 1944. It's a little grainy. And newspaper pictures are notoriously not great quality pictures when they are reproduced in the paper. Now, the original picture of this was probably great quality, and if I ever run across it, I will share that with you as well. But if I remember correctly, we've had a lot of discussion about this in the past, but I believe this warehouse faced Washington Street in the general area there beside where Carolina Telephone Office is now, across the street from the Douglas Block. But anyway, I believe that's Thomas Street going along the side there and Washington Street going in front of the warehouse. But again, this is the Cobb and Foxhall warehouse from 1944. And alongside this picture in the Telegram, in that article, was, Lee, you can go to the next picture, number 2, was identified as Cobb and Foxhall number 2. And again, the picture quality is not great. I apologize. And I forgot now exactly where this one was. I think it was somewhere in the vicinity down there at the corner of Falls Road and Main Street, in that area down there, I think. Anyway, these two both appeared in a segment that was talking about, keep in mind, August, we're at the tobacco season fixing to open up, and so there's a lot of interest at that time of the year in the tobacco market. The Rocky Mountain Telegram every year put a lot of articles and pictures about tobacco warehouses and who was running the warehouses. Picture number 3, if you would, Lee, go ahead and bring that up. These are the two owners of the Cobb and Foxhall warehouse. And this was, I'd never seen these gentlemen before. That's Mr. W.E. Cobb on the left, and Mr. I believe that's M.F. Foxhall on the right there. But they had a partnership, obviously, Cobb and Foxhall. These were the owners of the warehouse at that time frame. So anyway, let's go ahead and lead to the next picture, because the next one is actually, this is a neat article that I ran across, and it was a little history here, and it was talking about the China American Tobacco Warehouse that was founded in 1918. I'm just going to read a little bit of this here. I won't try to read the whole thing, but it says the China American Tobacco Company was founded here in 1918 and is now operated by the sons of the late J.O. Gravely. P.K. Gravely is president of the firm, which has as its vice president J.O.W. Gravely Jr. Serving as secretary and treasurer is L.L. Gravely. China American has E.G. Johnson Sr. and K.H. McGee as supervisors, and J.L. Parker is in charge of foreign sales. W.L. Guthrie, W.H. Owens, C.M. Cooper Jr., and J.H. Green are buyers for the organization. Again this year, H.W. Sidbury will be office manager, and the office force will include W.T. Fuller, Mrs. Luther D. Bass Jr., Miss Virginia Tyree, Miss May Belkin, Miss Jack Gravely, and Grover Bonner. Factory managers for the season are P.S. Jones, W.F. Dalton, W.F. Whitehurst, E.E. Leonard, P.H. Jordan, W.H. Waltz, J.H. Deans, G.M. Harris, C.E. Baker, R.H. Hicks, I think that's Robert H. Hicks. No, it couldn't be, I'm sorry, because this article was in 1945. That wouldn't be Robert H. Hicks. H.L. Faulkner, A.W. House, W.N. Lewis, R.E. Sullivan, Roger Basher, Harold Staten, and Ernest Lamb. So there's a little bit of history there. The China American founded in 1918. This article was in 1945, so obviously by this time it had been in business, 30 years almost, 27 years. But a lot of tobacco warehouses in Rocky Mountain over the years, and a lot of history there as well. Okay, Lee, let's go ahead to the next picture then. And this was just, to me, this was a neat ad that I ran across. Did I get ahead of myself? This is the Smith Works. I'm sorry, I did. Let me back up. This is the Smith Works owners. I mentioned earlier that these tobacco warehouses this time of the year, in August of 1945, they would not only highlight the fact that the markets were opening up and they were trying to get the farmers to bring their tobacco into these individual warehouses, they would sometimes put pictures up of the owners and promote not only the business but the people who work there. And so this was this article caught my eye here because the gentleman on the right, Lee, can you zoom in on this so we can see the names on these pictures? I don't want to mispronounce the gentleman on the left's name. The one on the right I actually knew. He's now deceased. I'm sure they both are for that matter, because this also is from 1945. But the gentleman on the right, I used to do some work for him and many, many years ago, and he has since passed away. But the gentleman on the left, I did not know him personally. There you go. R.J. Works on the left, and Jimmy Smith on the right. I knew Jimmy Smith, and I had confused Mr. Works with someone else. I thought it was going to be pronounced somebody else's name. But anyway, that was R.J. Works on the left, Jimmy Smith on the right, and they were the ones that were in charge of the operations over at Smith Works Tobacco Warehouse. And again, this is from 1945. Okay. All right, Lee. So now let's go to the next picture, which is an ad, and this is one that really caught my eye. And this is actually a Don Bullock Chevrolet ad from 1945 as well. And as you can see there, it says, announcing the opening and readiness for business of our new factory method recapping plant. Now this is that, you notice the address on there, 117 and 119 South Church Street. So this was future years, later years would have been Bel Air Chevrolet. It's the place where the Artisan Center is now there on Church Street. But I never knew that they recapped tires there. And as it turns out, in 1945, Bullock Chevrolet, as it was known then, of course, before it became known as Bel Air Chevrolet. Now, I'm just going to read this here. It says, we have recently succeeded in securing the latest and most modern recapping and curing equipment known to the tire industry. Effective immediately, we can give you prompt service on recapping your smooth tires with the best available Camelback. It will be a long time, according to the latest information, before cardholders can hope to get new tires. Keep in mind, 1945, World War II is going on, and everything was being rationed. And so tire recapping was a big deal then. It was something you rarely hear about anymore. I still remember back in the 60s, a couple recappers around town. But talking about card holders being able to get new tires. So it says, therefore, it's a good business to use every precaution to save your old tires by having them recapped early so as to prevent breaks in the cords and weakening of the tire generally. Get our tire expert's advice. He will advise you on how to best conserve your present tires to get greater mileage and longer life. Drop by our recapping plant and see how well prepared we are to serve your recapping and vulcanizing needs. So, in addition to selling automobiles, Bullock Auto Sales in 1945 had a recapping or retreading plant there, I guess, somewhere in the dealership. I would guess downstairs, but in any case, that's something I did not know. I knew there was a Chevrolet dealership there, but never knew that they recapped tires there too. But in 1945, they opened up a brand new facility to recap and sell recapped tires. Who knew? Okay, let's go ahead and lead into our next picture. And our next one is actually from 1948. And this was something that caught my eye for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you notice the very bottom, it's referred to as Johnson Cotton Company. And it says 1 mile south of Highway 301. And John Tullis, manager. John Tullis is Gus Tullis' father. Many of you know Gus, local insurance gentleman, been around me, Rocky Mount for many years. This was his father. And at this time, and we've talked about this before in previous shows, that John Tullis worked there at Johnson Cotton Company. The other thing that caught my eye about this was this handy horse and a half. Overgrown tiller, if you want to think about it in those terms, but this thing was a powerhouse. And it says it's a 1.5 horsepower, 2-wheeled tractors, the way it's advertised here. And I apologize again, this was a newspaper clipping, and it was a little grainy to read. I printed off a copy so I could read it myself. But it says, with packaged implements that plow, seed, harrow, cultivate, mow, and clear snow. A work saver and money maker for all growers. That's the nimble, husky-powered HO 2-wheel tractor with its complete set of packaged implements. You can buy any tool attachment when and as you need it. Works for you year-round, plowing, seeding, harrowing, cultivating, and mowing, and plowing snow in the winter. All of this at amazingly low operating costs. Be sure to come in and see our showing of Boland's Husky 2-wheel tractors and packaged implements. So this was in 1948, and tractors had been around a while, obviously, but not everyone could afford to go out and buy a full-size farm tractor. And there were smaller farm tractors as well, but this fit a good niche for folks who needed something a little more than a common tiller or a mule-drawn plow. And so you could go get this horse and a half, and that doesn't sound like very much power considering now most lawnmowers have got, golly, 15, 18, 25, 35 horsepower motors on them. But this thing had a 1.5 horsepower engine, and it was, a two-wheel tractor. So anyway, okay, Lee, let's go ahead then to our picture number 8. And picture number 8, this is another ad that caught my eye for a couple of reasons. Number one, J.R. Moore's Bicycle Shop, 125 South of Washington Street, still in that same location today. It says, new bicycles and accessories, a good stock of new bicycles on hand now. Come in and make your choice. Some as low as $38.95. That really surprised me. This ad was from 1947, by the way, and it appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram. I'm sure it was probably a very good quality bike, and as such brought a premium price. But I was really surprised that a bicycle was almost $40 in 1947. And again, I just would have expected to have been considerably cheaper than that. I have no doubt it doesn't say a brand here. It doesn't describe anything about the bike. It just says some as low as $38.95, which makes me wonder how much the expensive bikes were if they're cheaper and were $38.95. Anyway, phone number, 2-digit phone number 22. How about that? Phone number 22, 1947. Okay, Lee, let's go ahead and then the next picture. I'd heard of Moore's Bicycle Shop, been in it many times over the years. Braswell Sports Shop, been in there many times. Peg's Bicycle Shop was a new one for me, and I still don't know. Maybe somebody remembers this. If so, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. 116 West Thomas Street was the location. That was right there, kind of across from the 1 Hour core ties, and they just tore down here a few months ago, down on the corner of Thomas Street and Main Street. It was roughly where this was. But it says, now's the time to have your lawnmower repaired and sharpened. We will pick up your lawnmower and deliver it to you the next day. We can give you a first-class job. We have the very latest equipment. Peg's Bicycle Shop. My first mental image was of a one-legged gentleman, old pirate Peg Leg. That was my first thought, first mental image when I saw Peg's Bicycle Shop. And then I thought, well, maybe Peg's was a nickname for the owner's wife, Peggy. I don't know that, but I had never heard of Peg's Bicycle Shop in Rocky Mount. And again, this was from 1947, so before my time. But these old ads are really, I love looking at these things, and I sometimes get captivated by them and spend a few minutes looking at the ad and just kind of going over it and seeing what's there. But that was a new one on me. Of all the bicycle shops around Rocky Mount I've heard about over the years, this is one I had never heard of. All right, Lee, I tell you what, let's go one more before we take our next commercial break. This next one, this was a neat little article here. It was a picture from 1948, and it's J.C. Braswell School. They had a canned milk drive. And it says, the headline, it's hard to read it, but it says, youngsters contribute to Europe's needy. Now keep in mind, 1948, World War II has been over 3 years now. Lots of Europe was devastated, certainly. I mean, there was just mass destruction all over Europe. But so these kids got together, I'm sure with the leadership and assistance of the teachers, but they had a canned milk drive. And it says here, the caption says, some of the 558 cans of milk contributed by the children of the James Craig Braswell School are shown here being stacked on the schoolhouse steps. The children filed by, each with his own contribution, while Miss Lily B. Sharon, principal, looked on. So these kids brought canned milk from home and raised 558 cans of milk to be sent overseas to the, I guess their fellow kids over in Europe who had been, affected by the war. Okay, Lee, bring it back to me. This is a good time to take our first commercial break tonight. First, we've got a lot more to share with you. We're going to talk in some more detail about some manufacturing. Going to show you some manufacturing facilities and plants and so forth around the area. Going to talk a little bit about some more historical aspects of Rocky Mount. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
Now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company. Servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornstalk Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm your host, Randy Adcock. So glad you could join us tonight. At the top of the show, I mentioned that we had loosely themed tonight's show around manufacturing. That's not to say that every picture has something to do with manufacturing, because it doesn't, obviously. But while I was preparing for tonight's show over the last couple of days, I ran across some pictures and some images, some articles that reminded me that there have been other manufacturing operations in the area over the years. We always think about Rocky Mount Mills and as I said earlier, the Abbott / Hospira Pfizer plant out there. But there have been others, certainly, and so tonight I thought we'd kind of take a look and do a kind of a highlight on a few of the ones that you may or may not be familiar with. So we'll get to those in just a minute. In the meantime, though, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and go to our next page. This is a newspaper ad, and this is from 1952, and it was for a company that I can't say I've ever heard of. Maybe some of you remember this, Roulane Gas Service. It was located at 168 South of Washington Street. And if you notice up at the top, it says $75 allowance for your old range. So if you had an old clunker of a stove and you wanted to get a new stove, you could bring it in and give you $75 allowance for your old one. And you could get a brand new 1952 model Tappan, Super 60 Tappan at that, gas range. And I just want to read a few little aspects about this ad, because some of this is kind of neat. It says, let us show you how these brand new 1952 Tappan has all these features. A premium top boiler. It has a lift-off oven door. All famous Harper all-troll burners, 3 burners in 2. $294.95 was the actual price of the stove. She brought in an old one that was $75 discount, made the actual cost $219.95. With a $24.91 down payment, you would only pay $6.40 per month. And this was kind of the time frame where buying on credit started to come into fashion, whether it's a car or household appliances, or even things as mundane as clothes and shoes and so forth. In the 1950s, it became popular, if not commonplace, for people to start buying on credit. And so I've heard it said that was a downfall of too many people in the country when they could get credit and not have to pay cash for what they wanted. But in any case, it became pretty commonplace to be able to go into a store and charge it. And so you could buy a stove, certainly, brand new stove, and You know, if you've not looked recently, oh my goodness, the price of new appliances is just through the roof. You can spend $3,000 or $4,000 for a stove very easily now. We bought one about a year and a half ago, and it was by far, it was first of all, a display model, the only one it had on the floor. It just happened to be just the very model my wife wanted, and it had been out there so long it was actually a discontinued model. They had not sold it, but in any case, I think we still had to pay somewhere close to $1,000 for that one. But appliances have just gone outrageous. But again, in 1952, when I first saw this, $294 for a stove, to me seemed a bit strong. You know, maybe Tappan brand name was a very, I've heard of Tappan obviously, and I'm sure it's good quality and has been a good quality name for many years. But I was a little surprised that in 1952, a stove would have been that much. It's a gas stove at that. But anyway, Rue Lane Gas Service, 168 South of Washington Street. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this next picture is from 1950. And some of you may recognize this building. When I first saw it, I had to do a double check. I said, I know I've seen this building. Where did I see it? Where did I see it? And I got to looking a little bit. By the way, this is from 1950, as I said, 1950. And this was actually, Ferguson Tractors was the brand, but the gentleman who run the business was Andy. Hang on, I'll give you his last name. Oh shoot, I didn't bring that page with me. Let's go to the next picture, Lee, and because the next one is actually an advertisement. Here you go. If you remember from past shows, it was quite commonplace when a new business would open up, there would be local advertisers, or local businesses, I should say, who participated in one way or another in helping get that business up and running. And so there was kind of like a congratulatory ad that would be placed in the paper. And in this case, when Andy's Tractor and Implement Company, that's the name of the company, it opened up in 1950, and this was just a sampling of the advertisers who contributed to getting Andy's Tractor and Implement Company off the ground and up and running in 1950. Top left-hand corner there says, "We are proud of Andy's Tractor and Implement Company. The plate glass and window glass was designed and installed by Art Craft Glass Company, 1131 South Church Street." The right-hand side says, "The electrical work in the new home of Andy's Tractor and Implement was done by Robbins Electric Company." Over on the left again, underneath the first ad there, it says, "Our sincere good wishes to Andy's Tractor and Implement Company on their formal opening Monday, August the 7th, 1950. Notice the concrete blocks in this new building, a product of Carolina Concrete Block Company." I didn't realize this building was built in 1950. I'll get back to this building in a minute. On the right-hand side of this ad, "Congratulations and best wishes to Andy's Tractor and Implement Company on your formal opening, H.M. Walker Lumber Company." Bottom left-hand corner says, "Best wishes to Andy's Tractor and Implement on the formal opening of your home, Carolina Building Supply." And then the bottom right-hand side and final ad says, "Congratulations to Andy's Tractor and Implement Company, the formal opening, Williams Lumber Company." Now, Lee, go back, if you would, to that prior picture. I want to let the viewers look at that one more time, because when I first saw this building, I knew I'd seen it, and I had to do a double take and do a little bit of research. But this building was actually, it's still there, by the way. It's now across the street from the stockyard down on South Church Street. It's a little run down now, but that building is still standing, and it's almost directly across the road, across the street, across Church Street, from the entrance to the stockyard down there on South Church Street. But anyway, in 1950, Andy, and I thought I had his name somewhere in my notes. I apologize, I don't have his last name, but Mr. Andy somebody opened up a Ferguson Tractor dealership, and that's why it's got Ferguson Tractors up top. It wasn't the name of the business wasn't Ferguson Tractors, it was a Ferguson Tractor dealership, but the name of the company was Andy's Tractor and Implement Company, 1950. Okay, all right, Lisa, let's go to the next picture then. And this next one is just one that caught my eye, and I'll be honest with you, oh shoot, I forgot I had this one here. This is just another one, another ad, that just a congratulatory ad again. And this, I thought it might have his name in here, and it does not. I apologize. Okay, Lee, you can go ahead past that. I forgot I had that picture in the bunch. Here we go. Okay, 1953. This is another image. We talked just a minute ago, and I got my picture a little bit out of sequence there. I do apologize. This was supposed to be the other picture there from Johnson Cotton Company, but this is, of course, in later years, became Tullis Tractor. Mr. John Tullis, that worked for Johnson Cotton Company, eventually bought the company into business, and it became Tullis Tractor Company. If you notice there, it says Johnson Cotton Farm and Industrial Equipment. Underneath that, it's got his name, John Tullis, manager. So in 1953 was when this article appeared in the Telegram and this picture appeared. And John Tullis was the manager then. And I think a few short years after this is when he purchased the company and began running himself as Tullis Tractor Company. Okay. So now, this next picture is one that just kind of, I saw it and I read the caption and I started to keep on going, but I said, no, somebody might know this gentleman, and so I wanted to kind of share this picture. And you can go ahead and lead and go to the next one, pull the next picture up if you would. This picture is from 1954, August of 1954, and the headline says it all, sadly, local use auto burns up near airport. And I'm not sure, but I think this might be an MG. It's hard to tell. It's kind of burnt up, as you see in the picture here. But it says all that remains of Robert Eggleston's foreign sports car is shown here with the dejected owner after the car caught fire and burned yesterday afternoon while he was driving near the airport. I can't say I've ever heard of Mr. Robert Eggleston, but or Eggleston. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but it's Eggleston. Eggleston, maybe. Doesn't say what happened, just that the car caught on fire. And again, this was in August of 1954, and apparently the car was a total loss. So sorry there for Mr. Eggleston there. All right, I mentioned earlier that we had loosely themed a night show on manufacturing and some of the different types of manufacturing went on. And one of the ones that I was unaware of until I come across an article. There's no picture associated with this, but there's an article that appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in 1953. And Lee, you can put the article up there. The next picture is the actual article. And it's headlined, Citizen of Battleboro remembers lifetime as sawmill operator. And this appeared in October of 1953. And I'm going to read a little bit of it to you here. It says, Sunday, October 4th, marks the 66th milestone. Now keep in mind, this article appeared in 1953 in the Rocky Mount Telegram. But it says, Sunday, October 4th, marks the 66th milestone in the life of a man who could boast if he were the boasting kind. It said, everyone who's ever known him loves him. He is Henry Maurice Walker of Battleboro. His birthday is today. Says Walker has been in the sawmill business at Gold Rock for a number of years, and he is one man who has been able to handle any job around in a sawmill and handle it well, even in his boyhood. When he was a little boy, 8 years old, he drove a log cart in the woods. Walker says his formal education consisted of getting to a 4th grade reader at Powell's School in Nash County and attending Elder Andrew Moore's Academy in Whitakers for a while, with the late Miss Minnie Moore Taylor as my teacher. Evidently, his love for his sawmill was partly handed down to him from his father, who logged for years, and was partly cultivated from his own association with the work. In 1914 or 1915, he was renting a sawmill, and in 1916, he bought it. In 1925, the boiler blew up, killing one man and injuring 3 others. In 1926, he began with the sawmill at Gold Rock, and in that length of time, he has more than doubled his employees. And in 1926, he had 32 employees. Now there are 65 names on the payroll. So I don't know exactly where in the Gold Rock community this sawmill was. Maybe someone who remembers this. Like I said, it's from 1953. I'm not sure how long it ran after that. It said in 1947 the sawmill and drying kiln burned. Reconstruction work began right away, but materials were mighty hard to get along then, and it took about a year and a half to get things back to running. And but anyway, it's a neat article. Oh, we got a call. Maybe someone knows a little about this. Let's take this call. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We got you.
All right. Walker Lumber Company that was up there at Gold Rock. When you leave the stoplight at Gold Rock on NC 48 and go down there and cross the creek, that's where it was at.
On the left or the right?
On the right.
Okay.
When you're going north on NC 48 from the traffic light at Gold Rock.
Okay. I got you. I know the area.
At the time, it was the most premier pine lumber sawmill in eastern North Carolina.
No kidding.
It was a big place. It was a very well-known place in its later years.
Did you ever know Mr. Walker?
I knew Morris Walker.
Okay. Sort of related, I'm sure, yeah. Okay.
We used to deal with him. And Morris Walker's wife, Ruth, when the Carlton House restaurant closed, his wife, Ruth, was the manager of the restaurant at the Carlton House restaurant at the point in time I think that it closed.
How about that?
They lived in Battleboro on the left side of the US 301. When you went north from the traffic light in Battleboro going north, 2 or 3 houses on the left is where they lived. All right.
Okay. All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay. Yeah. In fact, Mr. Morris Walker is listed here. While Eric was speaking, I was reading a little more of the article, and that is obviously one of Mr. Walker's sons. Another neat, interesting tidbit here. It says, not many years ago, Walker was cited by the makers of Chesterfield cigarettes and had his picture on the back of Look magazine and the Saturday Evening Post. He has smoked the same brand for the past 30 years. He was presented a beautiful Longines, I think is the way you pronounce that, Longines, Longines watch as a gift from the company. It was known the country round that during the 1931-32 Great Depression that Walker Lumber Company never turned off a man, and there was never a work day that smoke was not coming from the stacks. So obviously he was a hard-working man himself and managed to keep people working all through the Great Depression at his sawmill. So I never knew about that operation. I know exactly where it's at now that Eric has told me where it was. And it's neat to learn about these operations that are long since gone away, and I never knew anything about them. Okay, let's go on and lead to the next picture then. This is another operation I never knew anything about. And I'm going to read you the caption about this first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. It says, the finishing touches, 2 employees of the Southern Bell Manufacturing Company, located in the old Jeffries School near Bienvenue, secure the arms to a couch made by the company. This is the last phase of production for the living room suits turned out by the firm. Southern Bell ships its products to leading furniture dealers in cities and towns throughout eastern North Carolina. Now, that was the caption. This article appeared in August of 1960 in the Rocky Mount Telegram. You see the headline, Homegrown Industry is Finding Big Market for Manufactured Furniture. And you know, it's a shame, for many, many years, North Carolina was known as the furniture capital of the world, literally. I mean, we built furniture and shipped it all over the United States, all over the world, in fact. And that's an industry that sadly has kind of gone the way of so many other industries and shipped to countries like China and India and places on foreign shores. But it's a fairly short article here that accompanied the picture, and it says, a new manufacturing firm, practically unknown to the majority of the citizens of Rocky Mount area, shows promise of bringing more employment, more money, and a great deal of prestige to the Bi-County area. Southern Bell Manufacturing Company, although not located within the confines of the city, has launched the furniture manufacturing trend in this area from the old Jeffries School just off North Carolina 43, just beyond the Bienvenue community in Nash County. According to the firm's president, Joe Reeve, the living room suits consisting of a couch and chair are being well accepted by the merchants in various parts of eastern North Carolina. Suits have been distributed to some of the leading furniture dealers in places like Goldsboro, Mount Olive, Warsaw, Wallace, and Clinton. I'm not sure. I think this was somewhere along where Stump Jones's place was, maybe out there. That's 43. If you go over Highway Interstate 95, a little further down the right-hand side there, I think, not positive, I think that might have been where this was. But in any case, I never knew about this place. Southern Bell Manufacturing is what it was called, and they made couches and chairs. How about that? Okay, Lee, bring it back to me. This is a good time to take our next commercial break. Folks, we got some more pictures to show you. We're going to talk about some other manufacturing that was going on in and around the Bi-County area, Nash-Edgecombe County. And so when we come back from the break, we'll get to some of those pictures, and we'll talk some more about some manufacturers, show you some pictures of people you may recognize. Ready for a break, Lee? We ready? Okay, take us to a commercial break. Folks, we'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornstalk Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service, we offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornstalk Funeral Home.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, we're just tuning in. You're watching Wayback Wednesday. Before the break, we were talking about some manufacturing that has gone on over the years around Rocky Mount and the area, Nash-Edgecombe counties, and some of these I'm familiar with, some I'd never heard of before. So it's always neat to me anyway, to learn about these things that happened before my time but I never knew anything about. So I hope you enjoy it too. The next picture is actually one that I probably should have added a little bit earlier in tonight's show. But it was actually, I intentionally left it till later because it kind of ties in with a segment of pictures I'm going to show you here very shortly. But this next picture is from 1962, and it's a picture of a gentleman, Mr. Mosley, out at Shady Lake Motel, standing in front of a John Deere tractor. So Lee, if you would, let's pull that next picture up, and we'll talk a little bit about this. This appeared in the Rocky Mount Telegram in 1962, and you see the caption there, why Moses Shady Lake switched to John Deere. And I'll read, this was a promotional appearance there. They actually interviewed several people, and there was pictures of different tractors and the individual who owned the tractor. And this one I chose it to show them for a couple of reasons. Number one, it says Harlan Mosley, Mosley Shady Lake Motels, Rocky Mount, says Mr. Leon Mosley, owner, Harlan Mosley's son, and Hardy Barnes, operator. A small tractor is all right for what it is made to do. If there is much work to be done, you'll soon get behind. We not only needed more power in a tractor, but one that would do many different types of jobs. We have used several tractors of other design and looked at the rest of them. The new John Deere Model 1010 seems to fill the bill. Plenty of horses under the hood, very reasonable fuel consumption, fingertip handling with power steering, really streamlined in appearance. This thing sounds like a sports car, doesn't it? Let's see. Handling with power steering, really streamlined in appearance, time-saving and necessary live power takeoff, a very comfortable seat, and perhaps most important of all, we have found from experience that when needed, we can always expect top-notch service from Tullis Tractor Company. So if you remember a few minutes ago, we talked about Johnson Cotton Company. Johnson Cotton Company, the manager was Mr. John Tullis. And so that was in 1952, that other article appeared in picture. So sometime after that, Mr. John Tullis acquired the company and changed the name to Tullis Tractor Company. And in 1962, Mosley Motel out there on 301 acquired one of the new John Deere 1010 tractors to use, I guess, around the motel for doing things out there. And so this article appeared. And as I said, this was just one of several. There was probably, 7 or 8 different pictures of individuals who had purchased a John Deere tractor, and they were standing either on it, beside it, or were sitting on it, and it was a good promotional campaign for Tullis Tractor Company. Okay, all right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this is actually from 1946, and this was a free, complete 60-page tractor guide that was offered by M.C. Comer, which was a Gulf oil distributor. They sold heating oil and different things down on South Church Street. This just caught my eye. I mean, I couldn't imagine why a company that sold fuel oil and so forth was giving away a book about farm tractors. But it's pretty interesting. It says, tractor owners, this book will save you repair bills, help you get more work out of your tractor at less cost. Gulf's Farm Tractor Guide is a complete handbook on tractor operation. It's just what you need to help you make your tractor last longer, get more out of the fuel you buy for it. And it's absolutely free, no obligation. 60 pages of helpful, practical tractor information. This book tells you the very best way to care for your air cleaner, cooling system, ignition valves, power transmission, vital engine parts, steering assembly, tires, battery, all parts of your tractor. There's a 2-page illustrated troubleshooting guide that helps you spot the trouble quickly when your tractor won't start or doesn't run properly. It says you should have a copy of Gulf's Farm Tractor Guide if your tractor is one of these makes. And it lists everyone I've ever heard of: Alice Chalmers, Baker, Case, Caterpillar, Cletrac, Co-op, Eagle, Ford, Graham Bradley, Huber, International, John Deere, Massey Harris, McCormick Deering, Minneapolis Moline, Oliver Hart Parr, Silver King, Wallace. Tractor owners, write for your free copy of Gulf's 60-page illustrated farm tractor guide or call for it at the address below. So, neat. Oh, we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
That thing you're talking about right there, I've never seen it, but that was no doubtably a sales promotion at a point in time when people that worked in the fields were moving away from mules, four-legged animals that walked up and down the rows, and tractors were coming into being, and they wanted anything they could do to advertise that they sold what tractors needed to run off of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think about that.
It's interesting. It sure is. It was a transitional time, not only in farming and in agriculture, but in business too, you know?
That's just right along there, just a little bit after when the railroads in America went from coal-burning locomotives to diesel-electric locomotives, and they wanted people to listen to what they had to say in writing and stimulate them buying a tractor and getting rid of those animals, those mules.
There you go.
And M.C. Comer that owned Comer Oil Company down there on South Church Street, I think he was a brother to A.F. Comer, who had the A.F. Comer Transport Service fuel oil tractor trailer hauling in those years out there around the Avalon Airport, out there near where Barnhill Contracting's asphalt plant is. Those two people, I think, were brothers.
Okay.
All right.
All right, buddy. Thank you. All right. Okay. So, all this talk about tractors, and as Eric said, tractors were very instrumental not only from the standpoint of farming and bringing agriculture up to a modern status. It was big business. Farmers were realizing how much more they could get done, how much more effective and efficient they could be, and so tractors were being sold by a number of different companies, and they were being built by a number of different companies too. And let's go lead to the next picture, because this picture, and I said earlier I got my picture a little bit out of sync, I do apologize. This was a picture that appeared in Telegram in 1962, also Tullis Tractor Company, and it just, talking about the John Deere 22 picker. Tractors over the years have just mushroomed into multifunctional pieces of equipment that can do a multitude of different tasks, and now there's a tractor made for every kind of farm operation that you need, especially harvesting crops and so forth. Okay, in 1949, I ran across this article, by the way, in the Rocky Mount Telegram in 1949, and it was talking about a company that we had mentioned on prior shows briefly, but I was really surprised at how much I didn't know about the Long Company out of Tarboro. Lee, let's go ahead to the very next picture. In 1949, Mr. Bill Long started a tractor company, operation, I should say, manufacturing tractors. And, I never knew, I always associated Long with being a place that made trailers. I think at some point they had a division that made trailers, and different divisions made different things, but I never knew they made farm tractors. But they did. And if you see the name there on the side of tractors, Long. But there was a couple neat articles in 1949 in the Rocky Mount Telegram that talked about Mr. Bill Long and his operation and what he was doing. And so let's go ahead and lead to the next picture. As you can see, this picture here is showing a metal press machine that they were using to make various pieces out of stamped metal. The machine was, I'm sure, hydraulically operated, and it would press these metal plates into components and parts, body panels and so forth, sheet metal parts of the tractor. And this was very much like an automobile assembly plant. There were different parts that were manufactured there in the building at different stations, if you will. And the tractor began on one end of the assembly line, and when it got to the other end, it was a rolling, completed, assembled tractor. And so let's go ahead and lead to the next. We'll go through these. This next picture is showing them making, these are panels for gas tanks, it says, Long tractor gas tanks. And again, these will have been stamped out of a piece of flat metal by a hydraulic press machine, and they were formed and then probably welded together. And but all the body panels, certainly the hood of the tractor and the fender wells and gas tank, all these kind of things were pressed out of sheet metal with hydraulic presses. And again, it was an assembly line process that put these things together. Let's go ahead and to the next picture. And this is showing, again, the assembly line from, as you see, and it shows there on like a rail system, like a train rail system. And as it would go along, there would be different parts added to it. A different portion of the assembly would take place. And when it got to the end of the assembly line, it was an assembled tractor and ready to roll off and be sold. And I think the next picture, let's go to that one. The next picture, I think, there you go. There shows a Long tractor with plows attached, ready for work. And, I don't know how this compared to the more well-known brands like John Deere and Alice Chalmers and Case and International and so forth. But it was a tractor in every sense of the word, And as Eric said a minute ago, this was big business. You know, every farmer that was serious about his farming, once he saw what a tractor could do and how much more it could do than a plow that was pulled along by a mule, it was really a no-brainer. Mr. Bob Merritt has told me a story several times about my grandfather, who was a tenant farmer, never owned a piece of dirt, farmed somebody else's land his whole farming career. And when he acquired the first tractor on that little farm that he farmed, it wasn't his tractor. He didn't own it. It belonged to the man who owned the farm. But he treated it as if it were his tractor, and he would get out there and plow the fields with it, and then wash it and wax it when he got through plowing the field. And it was old Alice Chalmers B model. And so tractors hold a kind of a soft spot in my heart, and farming in general for that matter. So it was neat to me to run across these old pictures of long tractors. Lee, we got a couple more. Let's go ahead and go through these. We're about to run out of time here. This headline here says, "Finished except for bolting on the wheels." He's getting, I look, he may be doing some lubrication there with a grease gun maybe, or grease hose, or maybe an air gun. But in any case, the tractor at this point of assembly is finished, other than putting the wheels on. This next picture, Lee, go ahead, this is a picture of Mr. Long himself, Bill Long, pointing to a wall in his office in Tarboro, and he's showing dealers and distributors in North Carolina is what he's pointing at there, according to the caption here. Business continued to grow and do very well for Mr. Long. He bought an airplane in 1956. It was a Aero Commander 680, and this is Mr. Long and his pilot, a couple of the gentlemen from the salespeople who sold the airplane, standing outside the plane there. And the next picture itself, I think the last one in this group is the next, there you go. And this is not a very good quality picture, I do apologize, but this was the airplane that he bought in 1956. And Bill Long went all over the country, and indeed across the ocean, not on this plane necessarily, but I'm saying he traveled extensively. And from what I understand and what I read, he was a very astute businessman, very savvy, and knew hard work would pay off, and he certainly knew how to make a dollar. So anyway, that was something that I learned while I was preparing for tonight's show. I had no idea that was such a massive operation of Mr. Long in Tarboro. I didn't have any idea they did as much different types of things as they did over there, but it was interesting to learn about that. Lee, I tell you what, bring it back to me. Folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. We've run slam out of time. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to take this call as we go off the air. So, folks, have a great week. Take care of yourselves and be kind to each other. We'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night. Hello, caller.